A ragged teenager, clothes tattered and face smudged with dirt, stands before the gleaming Tesla headquarters. His eyes, though, shine with determination as he clutches a crumpled piece of paper in his trembling hands. What happens next will challenge everything you thought you knew about opportunity, talent, and the American dream. This isn't just a story about a homeless boy meeting Elon Musk. It's a testament to the untapped genius that exists in the most unexpected places. The sun glinted off the sleek glass facade of Tesla headquarters as a lone figure approached. Security guard Mike Johnson squinted, his eyes narrowing as he spotted the disheveled teenager striding purposefully towards the main entrance. The boy's determined gait contrasted sharply with his ragged appearance, setting off alarm bells in Johnson's mind. As the teen drew closer, Johnson stepped forward to intercept. "Hold it right there, kid," he called out, one hand raised in a halting gesture. The boy's pace didn't falter. Instead, he reached into his pocket, causing Johnson to tense. But what emerged wasn't a weapon. It was a crumpled piece of paper. "I have an appointment with Elon Musk," the boy declared, his voice steady despite his appearance. Johnson blinked, momentarily stunned by the audacity of the claim. He'd heard some wild stories in his years on security detail, but this one took the cake. "Sure you do," Johnson replied, unable to keep the sarcasm from his voice. "And I'm the Queen of England." He reached for his radio, calling for backup. This situation was beyond his pay grade. As additional security personnel converged on the scene, the boy remained calm. His composure was unsettling, at odds with his threadbare clothes and tangled hair. When he spoke again, his words were carefully chosen, articulate in a way that caught the guards off guard. "I understand your skepticism," the boy began, "but I assure you, my presence here is not a joke or a threat. I have information that Mr. Musk will want to hear. Information that could revolutionize Tesla's approach to sustainable energy storage." The security team exchanged glances, their initial certainty wavering. This was no ordinary trespasser. The boy's eloquence and apparent knowledge of Tesla's work created a palpable tension in the air. As the standoff continued, fate intervened. The main doors of the building slid open, and out stepped none other than Elon Musk himself, engrossed in conversation with a colleague. The commotion at the gate caught his attention, and he paused, his keen eyes taking in the scene. Musk's curiosity was piqued. He'd always prided himself on thinking outside the box, on seeing potential where others saw only problems. And there was something about this boy, a spark of intelligence behind the dirt-smudged face, that called to him. "What's going on here?" Musk asked, approaching the group. The security team straightened, their expressions a mix of relief and uncertainty. Johnson cleared his throat. "Sir, this young man claims he has an appointment with you. We were just about to escort him off the premises." Musk's gaze locked with the boys. In that moment, a silent understanding passed between them. Two minds recognizing a kindred spirit. The air crackled with possibility. "Is that so?" Musk replied, a hint of amusement in his voice. He turned to the boy. "And what exactly did you want to discuss with me?" The boy took a deep breath, years of preparation and dreams hanging on this moment. "Mr. Musk, I have an idea that could transform Tesla's battery technology. If you'll give me just 5 minutes of your time, I can show you how." Musk's eyes lit up with interest. He'd built his empire on taking chances, on seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary. Here, standing before him, was a risk worth taking. "Well then," Musk said, gesturing toward the building, "let's hear what you have to say." He turned to the stunned security team. "It's all right. I'll take it from here." As Musk led the boy into Tesla headquarters, the guards watched in disbelief. It was a moment that would change not just one life, but potentially the future of sustainable energy itself. The unlikely pair disappeared into the building, leaving behind a wake of whispers and wondering glances. The conference room door closed behind them, sealing off the outside world. Elon Musk, the tech visionary, sat across from a boy society had forgotten. But appearances can be deceiving. What happened next would shake the foundations of Tesla's future. Musk settled into his chair at the head of the polished conference table, his eyes never leaving the disheveled teenager before him. Around the room, executives shifted uncomfortably, their skepticism palpable in the tense atmosphere. The boy, seemingly oblivious to their scrutiny, stood tall despite his ragged appearance. "I'm Marcus," he began, his voice steady and clear. "I'm 17 years old, and I've been living on the streets for the past 2 years." A ripple of unease passed through the room. One executive leaned forward, his brow furrowed with concern. "Mr. Musk, with all due respect, this is highly irregular. We should consider the security implications of—" Musk raised a hand, silencing the objection. His gaze remained fixed on Marcus, a silent invitation to continue. The boy took a deep breath, squaring his shoulders. "I'm here because I've developed an innovative battery recycling process that could revolutionize Tesla's sustainability efforts," Marcus stated, his words gaining confidence with each syllable. The executives exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of disbelief and curiosity. As Marcus began his pitch, the atmosphere in the room shifted. His knowledge of Tesla's current battery technology was surprisingly comprehensive, his explanations peppered with technical terms and industry-specific jargon. He spoke of cathode materials, electrolyte compositions, and recovery rates with the ease of a seasoned engineer. The room fell silent as Marcus delved into the heart of his proposal. He outlined a chemical process that could significantly increase the recovery of valuable metals from spent lithium-ion batteries. His hands moved animatedly as he described complex reactions, his eyes alight with passion. "By introducing a novel leaching agent," Marcus explained, his words measured and precise, "we can increase the extraction efficiency of cobalt and nickel by up to 98%. This not only reduces the environmental impact of battery disposal, but also decreases Tesla's reliance on raw material mining." As Marcus continued, Musk leaned forward in his chair, his interest visibly piqued. The boy's unexpected expertise had caught everyone off guard. Gone was the image of a street urchin. In its place stood a young innovator, with ideas that could potentially reshape Tesla's approach to sustainability. The executive's initial skepticism had given way to reluctant admiration. Even those who had advocated for ending the meeting earlier now listened with rapt attention. Marcus fielded their questions with composure, his responses revealing a depth of understanding that belied his years and circumstances. As the presentation drew to a close, a charged silence filled the room. Musk's eyes gleamed with a familiar excitement, the look he got when presented with a truly groundbreaking idea. He turned to his team, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Gentlemen," Musk said, his voice low but filled with intensity, "I believe we've just witnessed something extraordinary." He focused back on Marcus, curiosity evident in his expression. "But there's still one question I can't shake. How did a homeless teenager manage to develop such a sophisticated understanding of our technology?" Marcus met Musk's gaze, his expression a mix of pride and determination. "The public library became my sanctuary and my school," he explained. "I spent every day there, studying Tesla's patents, watching your presentations, and teaching myself chemistry and engineering. I knew that if I could just get in front of you, I could prove that ideas can come from anywhere, even from someone society has forgotten." The room collectively held its breath, awaiting Musk's response. In that moment, the barriers of age, race, and social status seemed to dissolve, leaving only the pure potential of human ingenuity. It was clear to everyone present that they were witnessing the birth of something truly remarkable, a partnership that could redefine not just Tesla's future, but the very nature of innovation itself. Just as it seemed Marcus had won over the room, a skeptical voice cut through the silence. "Impressive pitch, kid, but how do we know you're not just parroting information you've memorized?" The executive's eyes narrowed, searching for any sign of deception. What Marcus said next would determine everything. Marcus stood his ground, meeting the executive's gaze with unwavering confidence. "I understand your skepticism, sir," he began, his voice steady and clear. "I know my appearance and background might make my claims hard to believe, but I assure you, my knowledge isn't simply memorized. I've spent countless hours studying and understanding these concepts." The executive, a man named Richard Thompson, wasn't easily swayed. He leaned forward, his fingers steepled on the polished conference table. "That's a convenient explanation. But let's be real here. How could someone in your situation possibly have access to the kind of information you're claiming to know? The room tensed, all eyes darting between Marcus and Thompson. Elon Musk remained silent, his expression unreadable as he observed the exchange. The weight of the moment hung heavy in the air, a battle of wills playing out before them. Marcus took a deep breath, his composure never faltering. "The public library became my sanctuary," he explained. "Every day I would spend hours there, poring over scientific journals, studying Tesla's publicly available patents, and watching every presentation and interview I could find. I taught myself chemistry, engineering principles, and even learned to code." Thompson scoffed, his disbelief evident. "Patents and public interviews are one thing, but you're claiming knowledge of our internal processes. That's not something you'd find in a library book." A flicker of determination crossed Marcus's face. He turned to the whiteboard that stood in the corner of the room, grabbing a marker. "May I?" he asked, looking to Musk for permission. With a nod from the CEO, Marcus began to sketch. "In your most recent battery design, published last month, there's a potential flaw in the cathode structure," Marcus explained, his hand moving swiftly across the board. He drew a detailed diagram, annotating it with chemical formulas and energy flow patterns. "The current configuration could lead to increased thermal runaway risk under specific charging conditions." The room fell silent as Marcus continued, breaking down the complex interactions between materials and proposing a modified structure that could mitigate the risk. His explanation was not just a recitation of facts, but a demonstration of deep understanding and analytical thinking. As Marcus finished, he turned back to face the stunned executives. Thompson's skepticism had given way to a look of grudging respect. Even Musk leaned forward, his interest clearly piqued. That's an issue our team only identified last week," Thompson admitted, his voice quiet. "How did you—" Marcus shrugged, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "When you spend enough time studying something, you start to see patterns and potential issues. I've been thinking about these problems for years, even if I didn't have the resources to test my theories." The atmosphere in the room shifted palpably. What had started as skepticism was now tinged with a sense of wonder. This young man, whom society had overlooked, possessed not just knowledge but a keen analytical mind and problem-solving skills that rivaled their top engineers. Musk finally broke his silence, leaning back in his chair with a thoughtful expression. "It seems we've underestimated you, Marcus," he said, his tone measured but impressed. "You've demonstrated not just memorization, but a true understanding of complex systems and the ability to identify and solve problems." As the executives exchanged glances, a new question hung in the air. What other hidden talents and insights might this unlikely prodigy possess? And how might those skills reshape the future of Tesla and the field of sustainable energy? As the gravity of Marcus's potential sank in, a new tension filled the air. Elon Musk, known for his unconventional thinking, faced a decision that would challenge his own deeply held beliefs. Would he recognize the brilliance before him, or would unconscious bias cloud his judgment? Musk broke the heavy silence, his gaze fixed on Marcus. "Tell me about yourself," he said, his voice betraying a mix of curiosity and caution. "How did you end up here, pitching ideas to Tesla?" Marcus took a deep breath, his shoulders straightening as he prepared to share his story. "I grew up in foster care," he began, his voice steady despite the weight of his words. "When I aged out of the system at 16, I had nowhere to go. The streets became my home, but I refused to let them define me." The room listened, rapt, as Marcus recounted his daily pilgrimages to the public library, where he devoured every book on science and engineering he could find. He spoke of long nights huddled in alleyways, scribbling equations and diagrams by streetlight. His determination was palpable, a force that had driven him from homelessness to the boardroom of one of the world's most innovative companies. As Marcus's story unfolded, Musk found himself grappling with his own preconceptions. He'd always prided himself on his ability to spot talent, to see potential where others saw only obstacles. But here was a young man who defied every expectation, who had overcome barriers Musk could scarcely imagine. The tech mogul began to pace, his mind racing. The other executives watched, sensing the internal struggle playing out before them. Musk's reputation for making bold, unconventional decisions was well known, but this situation was unprecedented. Marcus stood firm, his passion for innovation evident in every word he spoke. He described his makeshift experiments, conducted with salvaged materials in abandoned buildings. His eyes lit up as he explained how he'd applied theoretical concepts to real-world problems, driven by a desire to create solutions that could change lives. Suddenly, Musk turned, fixing Marcus with an intense gaze. "Let's test your knowledge," he said, his tone shifting to one of sharp inquiry. "Explain the principles behind solid-state batteries and their potential impact on electric vehicle range." Without missing a beat, Marcus launched into a detailed explanation, his words flowing with the ease of someone deeply versed in the subject. He covered ion conductivity, energy density, and safety advantages, even touching on the manufacturing challenges that had thus far limited large-scale production. Musk nodded, his expression unreadable. "What about the environmental impact of lithium mining, and how would you propose mitigating it?" Again, Marcus rose to the challenge, outlining innovative extraction methods and recycling processes that could reduce the industry's ecological footprint. His answers weren't just recitations of facts, they were thoughtful analyses that demonstrated a nuanced understanding of complex issues. As the rapid-fire questioning continued, the atmosphere in the room shifted. The initial skepticism gave way to a growing sense of awe. Marcus fielded each query with remarkable insight, his responses revealing not just knowledge, but a creative problem-solving approach that aligned closely with Tesla's innovative spirit. Finally, Musk fell silent, studying Marcus with newfound respect. The biases and doubts that had clouded his judgment began to dissipate, replaced by a clear recognition of the extraordinary talent standing before him. In Marcus, Musk saw not just a promising mind, but a kindred spirit, someone who, against all odds, had pursued knowledge and innovation with a relentless passion. The tech visionary's decision crystallized in that moment. He'd built his career on taking risks, on seeing potential where others saw only obstacles. Now faced with a young man who embodied the very spirit of innovation he'd always championed, Musk knew what he had to do. Musk's eyes glinted with excitement as he turned to face his team. The tension in the room was palpable, executives shifting in their seats as they awaited his decision. Marcus stood silently, his face a canvas of conflicting emotions, hope warring with disbelief. "Gentlemen," Musk began, his voice steady and resolute, "I believe we have an opportunity here. An opportunity to not just innovate in technology, but in how we approach talent acquisition." He paused, letting his words sink in. "I propose we offer Marcus an internship. Right here, right now." The reaction was immediate. Voices rose in a cacophony of concern and objection. Richard Thompson, the executive who had initially challenged Marcus, was the first to speak up. "Mr. Musk, with all due respect, there are legal implications to consider. We have established protocols for hiring, not to mention background checks, paperwork." Musk raised a hand, silencing the protests. "I understand your concerns, Richard, but let's think beyond our usual constraints. We're Tesla. We don't just push the boundaries of technology, we redefine them. Why should our approach to talent be any different?" He turned to address each objection in turn. "Legal concerns? We'll create a new category of internship, tailored to unique cases like Marcus's. Background checks? We'll partner with local social services to establish a process. As for paperwork, I'm sure our HR department is more than capable of adapting our onboarding procedures." The room fell silent as Musk's words sank in. He was challenging them not just to accept Marcus, but to rethink their entire approach to recruitment and opportunity. "Think about it," Musk continued, his voice gaining momentum. "How many brilliant minds are we missing out on because they don't fit our traditional mold? How many innovations are we losing because we're not looking in the right places?" He gestured towards Marcus. This young man, with nothing but determination and a library card, developed ideas that our top engineers are just now discovering. Imagine what he could do with our resources, our mentorship. Marcus stood straighter, his eyes wide with a mix of awe and trepidation. The possibility of his dreams becoming reality seemed to hover just within reach. Musk wasn't finished. He turned to face his team, his gaze challenging each of them in turn. We have a chance here to do more than just hire an intern. We can set a precedent. We can show the world that Tesla isn't just about electric cars and solar panels. We're about harnessing human potential wherever we find it. The executives exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of uncertainty and growing excitement. Musk's vision was infectious, as it had been so many times before. Finally, Musk turned back to Marcus. The room held its breath as he extended his hand. "Marcus," he said, his voice firm and clear, "I'd like to offer you a position as Tesla's first Innovation Scout intern. Your role will be to not only contribute your ideas, but to help us develop a program to identify and nurture talent from unconventional backgrounds. Are you up for the challenge?" Marcus's hands trembled slightly as he reached out to grasp Musk's. "Mr. Musk," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "I've been preparing for this challenge my entire life. Thank you for the opportunity. I won't let you down." As their hands clasped, a ripple of applause broke out in the room. It was more than just an internship offer. It was a moment of transformation. For Marcus, it was the beginning of a new life. For Tesla, it was the dawn of a new approach to innovation and talent. And for Elon Musk, it was a reaffirmation of his belief that true genius can come from the most unexpected places. The celebration in the conference room faded as reality began to set in. Marcus's elation at being offered the internship gave way to a gnawing sense of anxiety. He cleared his throat, his voice barely above a whisper. "Mr. Musk, there's something I need to tell you." The room fell silent, all eyes on Marcus as he continued. "I don't have a permanent address or any proper identification. I've been living on the streets for so long, I'm not even sure where to start." Musk's expression shifted from excitement to concern. The executives exchanged worried glances, the enormity of the challenges ahead becoming clear. The internship that had seemed within reach moments ago now appeared to be slipping away. Richard Thompson, the skeptical executive, spoke up. "This complicates things significantly. Without proper documentation, we can't process the necessary paperwork. It's not just company policy, it's a legal requirement." For a moment, the room was filled with a heavy silence. Marcus stood there, his shoulders slumped, the weight of his circumstances bearing down on him once again. But Elon Musk wasn't ready to give up. "Gentlemen," Musk said, his voice cutting through the tension, "we've already decided to think outside the box. Let's not let bureaucracy stand in the way of innovation." He turned to his team, his mind already racing with possibilities. "We need solutions. How can we make this work?" The next hour was a flurry of brainstorming and problem solving. Musk led the charge, proposing partnerships with local shelters and social services. They discussed creating a special category of internship that could accommodate Marcus's unique situation. As the team worked through the logistics, Marcus listened intently, his expression a mix of hope and apprehension. When there was a lull in the conversation, he spoke up, his voice tinged with vulnerability. "There's something else I'm worried about," he admitted. "I don't have any proper clothes for an office environment, and I'm not sure I'll fit in here. Everyone seems so polished." Musk's expression softened. He remembered his own early days, the feeling of being an outsider in the corporate world. "Marcus," he said, "we're not looking for you to fit a mold. We want your unique perspective, your innovative thinking. That said, we'll make sure you have everything you need to feel comfortable here." With that, Musk made a decision. He turned to one of his most trusted employees, Sarah Chen, a senior engineer known for her mentoring skills. "Sarah, I'd like you to work with Marcus. Help him navigate this transition from the practical details to the day-to-day of working at Tesla." Sarah nodded, a warm smile on her face as she looked at Marcus. "It would be my pleasure," she said. "We'll tackle this together, one step at a time." As the meeting wrapped up, the enormity of the task ahead was clear. Marcus faced obstacles that went far beyond the usual challenges of starting a new job. From securing proper identification to finding stable housing, from adapting to corporate culture to managing the emotional weight of such a drastic life change, the road ahead was daunting. Yet as Marcus left the conference room with Sarah, there was a new spring in his step. The obstacles were significant, but for the first time in years, he wasn't facing them alone. Tesla, with all its resources and innovative spirit, was behind him. It wasn't just an internship he had been offered. It was a bridge to a new life, a chance to overcome the barriers that had held him back for so long. The news of Marcus's unconventional hiring spread through Tesla like an electric current, sparking a range of reactions among employees. In the cafeteria, hushed conversations and curious glances followed Sarah Chen as she guided Marcus through the building. Some employees eyed the newcomer with skepticism, their whispers tinged with doubt about his qualifications and background. Others, however, couldn't contain their excitement, seeing Marcus's story as a breath of fresh air in the often rigid world of corporate hiring. In the Human Resources Department, a flurry of activity ensued. Managers huddled in conference rooms, poring over existing policies and frantically drafting new ones to accommodate similar cases in the future. The unprecedented nature of Marcus's situation exposed gaps in their standard procedures, forcing them to reevaluate their entire approach to talent acquisition and onboarding. As the buzz grew louder, Elon Musk decided it was time to address the situation head-on. He called for a company-wide meeting, filling Tesla's largest auditorium with employees from every department. The air was thick with anticipation as Musk took the stage, his presence commanding attention. "Today, we've taken a step that many might consider unconventional," Musk began, his voice steady and clear. "But at Tesla, we've always prided ourselves on thinking differently. Marcus's story challenges us to reconsider not just how we hire, but how we view talent and potential." Musk went on to outline the circumstances that led to Marcus's internship, emphasizing the young man's innovative ideas and determination. He then posed a question to the audience. How many brilliant minds are we missing out on because they don't fit our traditional mold? The CEO's words resonated through the room, prompting murmurs of agreement and thoughtful nods. Musk then opened the floor to employees, inviting them to share their own stories of overcoming adversity or unconventional paths to success. One by one, Tesla employees stepped forward. An engineer described her journey from a refugee camp to the company's cutting-edge labs. A marketing executive shared how a learning disability had nearly derailed his career before he found ways to adapt and thrive. Each story added a new layer to the tapestry of diversity within Tesla's ranks, revealing the hidden struggles and triumphs behind many familiar faces. As the meeting progressed, a palpable shift occurred in the room. The initial skepticism gave way to a growing sense of possibility and purpose. Employees began to see Marcus not as an outlier, but as a symbol of untapped potential within their communities. Sensing the momentum, Musk made a bold announcement. "Today we're forming a new task force," he declared. "Its mission will be to create opportunities for underserved communities, to seek out talent in places we've overlooked before." This isn't just about corporate social responsibility, it's about innovation. Diversity of background leads to diversity of thought, and that's what drives us forward. The announcement was met with enthusiastic applause. As the meeting concluded, employees filed out of the auditorium with a renewed sense of purpose. Conversations buzzed with ideas for outreach programs, mentorship initiatives, and ways to make Tesla more accessible to non-traditional applicants. In the weeks that followed, the impact of Marcus's story reverberated through every level of the company. HR policies were overhauled, emphasizing potential and problem-solving skills over traditional credentials. Recruitment efforts expanded into underserved communities, with Tesla employees volunteering as mentors in local schools and community centers. The company's approach to diversity and inclusion transformed from a checkbox on a corporate responsibility list to a core part of its innovation strategy. As Tesla continued to push the boundaries of sustainable energy and transportation, it did so with a workforce that increasingly reflected the diversity of the world it sought to change. Marcus's journey from the streets to Tesla's innovation team had become more than just an inspiring story. It was the catalyst for a fundamental shift in how one of the world's most innovative companies approached talent, potential, and the very nature of innovation itself. As Marcus stepped into the gleaming lobby of Tesla headquarters, his heart raced. The new clothes provided by Sarah felt strange against his skin, a stark contrast to the tattered garments he'd worn for so long. His freshly shaved face still tingled, a reminder of the transformation he'd undergone in just a few short days. Sarah Chen, his mentor, greeted him with a warm smile. Ready for your first day? She asked, her voice betraying a hint of excitement. Marcus nodded, trying to quell the butterflies in his stomach. As they made their way through the building, Marcus couldn't help but marvel at the sleek design and cutting-edge technology surrounding him. It was a far cry from the public libraries and abandoned buildings, where he'd spent countless hours studying and dreaming of this very moment. Sarah led him to a large open workspace filled with engineers hunched over computers and prototypes. Heads turned as they approached, curious eyes taking in the newcomer. Marcus felt the weight of their gazes, a mix of intrigue and wariness evident in their expressions. "Everyone, I'd like you to meet Marcus," Sarah announced. "He's joining our team as part of a new internship program." The introduction was met with polite nods and a few murmured greetings. Marcus could sense the unspoken questions hanging in the air. As the day progressed, Marcus found himself grappling with an overwhelming sense of imposter syndrome. The advanced equipment, the technical jargon flying back and forth, it all seemed light years beyond the makeshift experiments he'd conducted on the streets. More than once, he caught himself wondering if Elon Musk had made a terrible mistake. During a team meeting, the senior engineer, Dr. Patel, presented a problem they'd been struggling with: optimizing the cooling system for a new battery design. As the team discussed potential solutions, Marcus listened intently, his mind racing. Hesitantly, he raised his hand. "What if we approached it differently?" he suggested, his voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Patel paused, raising an eyebrow. "Go on," she encouraged. Drawing on his experiences of jury-rigging cooling systems in abandoned buildings, Marcus outlined an unconventional approach. He proposed repurposing existing components in a way that mimicked natural convection currents he'd observed in urban environments. The room fell silent as Marcus finished speaking. Dr. Patel's eyes widened, a look of surprise and intrigue crossing her face. "That's actually quite innovative," she admitted. "We've been so focused on high-tech solutions, we overlooked simpler, more efficient options." As the team began to discuss Marcus's idea, building upon it and refining the concept, he felt a shift in the atmosphere. The initial skepticism gave way to genuine interest and respect. His street-smart problem-solving approach had yielded unexpected results, opening up new avenues of exploration for the entire team. By the end of the day, Marcus found himself engaged in animated discussions with his colleagues. His unique perspective, born from years of improvisation and resourcefulness, brought a fresh energy to the team's work. The same engineers who had eyed him warily that morning now sought his input, recognizing the value of his unconventional background. As Marcus prepared to leave, Dr. Patel approached him. "You surprised us today," she said, a hint of admiration in her voice. "Elon was right about you. You see things differently, and that's exactly what we need here." Walking out of the building, Marcus felt a surge of confidence. The doubts that had plagued him earlier began to fade. He realized that Musk had seen something in him that even he hadn't fully recognized: the ability to bridge the gap between street-level ingenuity and cutting-edge technology. It was this unique combination of skills and perspective that had the potential to drive innovation in ways no one had anticipated. As the sun set over the Tesla campus, Marcus couldn't help but smile. His journey was just beginning, but already he could sense the impact he might have. The boy from the streets had found his place in the world of innovation, ready to prove that brilliance could indeed come from the most unexpected places. While Marcus slept, dreaming of his future at Tesla, his past was about to collide with the present in ways he never imagined. The media had caught wind of his story, and by morning, it would explode across headlines nationwide. The question on everyone's lips: could this be the catalyst that finally bridges the gap between street smarts and corporate innovation? As the sun rose over Silicon Valley, Marcus's journey from homelessness to Tesla intern became the talk of the tech world. News outlets clamored for interviews, social media buzzed with heated debates, and corporate boardrooms across the country found themselves grappling with uncomfortable questions about their own hiring practices. The pressure mounted quickly. Companies that had long prided themselves on their diversity initiatives suddenly found those efforts under intense scrutiny. How many potential geniuses had they overlooked? How many Marcuses were out there, their brilliance untapped simply because They didn't fit the traditional mold. Critics were quick to dismiss Marcus's story as an anomaly, a feel-good exception that couldn't possibly be replicated on a larger scale. They argued that the risks were too high, the logistics too complex. How could companies be expected to vet candidates with no formal education or work history? What about the legal implications? But Elon Musk was not one to back down from a challenge. In a bold move that sent shockwaves through the business world, he took to the stage at a major tech conference, Marcus by his side. "Today I'm issuing a challenge to every CEO in this room," Musk declared, his voice steady and determined. "Look beyond the resume. Seek out the untapped genius in your communities. Take the risk because the potential reward is immeasurable." The response was immediate and polarizing. Some CEOs dismissed Musk's challenge as a publicity stunt, while others saw it as a call to action. Within weeks, a handful of forward-thinking companies announced pilot programs aimed at recruiting talent from unconventional backgrounds. Meanwhile, Marcus found himself thrust into the spotlight as an unexpected spokesperson for untapped talent. He spoke at community centers and schools in underserved neighborhoods, his story inspiring hope in those who had long felt invisible to the corporate world. "Your circumstances don't define your potential," he would tell them, his voice steady despite the nerves that still fluttered in his stomach. "Your mind is your greatest asset. Never stop learning. Never stop dreaming." As Marcus's message spread, educational institutions took notice. Universities reached out to Tesla, eager to create pathways for disadvantaged students to enter the tech world. Community colleges began developing programs that blended traditional STEM education with real-world problem-solving skills, aiming to bridge the gap between street smarts and academic knowledge. The movement gained momentum, fueled by success stories that emerged in Marcus's wake. A former gang member whose understanding of supply chains, honed on the streets, revolutionized a major retailer's logistics. A high school dropout whose self-taught coding skills uncovered critical security flaws in a popular app. With each story, the narrative began to shift. Companies that had initially resisted the change found themselves falling behind, losing out on innovative talent to more open-minded competitors. HR departments across industries embarked on a massive overhaul of their hiring practices, developing new methods to identify and nurture unconventional talent. As the dust began to settle, it became clear that Marcus's story had sparked something far greater than anyone could have anticipated. The encounter between a homeless teenager and a tech visionary had set in motion a fundamental shift in how corporate America viewed talent and potential. The road ahead was still long, fraught with challenges and setbacks. But for the first time, there was a genuine effort to bridge the gap between the streets and the boardroom, between raw talent and polished credentials. And in that effort lay the potential for a new era of innovation, one that drew strength from the full spectrum of human experience and ingenuity. Marcus's journey from the streets to Tesla's innovation team stands as a powerful testament to the hidden potential lying dormant in unexpected places. His story challenges deep-rooted societal assumptions about talent, success, and the paths that lead to innovation. Elon Musk's decision to look beyond appearances and traditional credentials revealed a truth often overlooked in the corporate world. Genius can emerge from any background, given the right opportunity. This tale serves as more than just an inspirational anecdote. It forces us to confront our own biases and preconceptions about where talent can be found. The ripple effects of Marcus's hiring spread far beyond Tesla, sparking a broader conversation about diversity, inclusion, and the true nature of innovation in the tech industry and beyond. As we reflect on this transformative encounter between a visionary CEO and a homeless teenager, we are reminded that the next world-changing idea could come from the most unlikely source. It challenges each of us to reconsider how we view potential, not just in the corporate world, but in our communities and daily lives. The question remains, how many more Marcuses are out there, waiting for their chance to shine?